Glow-ups. A word defined by Dictionary.commercial as an informal term for a positive personal transformation, typically one involving significant changes in appearance and style, and often also a growth in confidence and maturity. Now perhaps you've experienced this yourself, my beautiful friends. I know that I did. Now, you won't catch me on Maxim's Top 100 or anything, but my face no longer looks like a connect-the-dots puzzle, so I'm quite grateful. In our lives, we all go through a bit of an awkward phase when we're younger. With the rise of the internet and social media, we make sure to document this era of our lives to ensure that our children and grandchildren will never take us seriously. But sometimes a person changes so much after their awkward years that you can barely recognize them. You may meet up with the kid who used to get his name written on the chalkboard in class, the problem child. But now he's made a really good life for himself selling this lucrative product, and is even willing to allow you to join and promote his business to others for an upfront investment. Change is the nature of this world. The leaves fall, hairs turn gray, and the United States dollar depreciates in value. But sometimes as those things happen, we get a little wiser. And maybe we can even take what we've learned from those challenging experiences, those awkward years, and use it to create something really special. But forget that, we're talking about the bad years. This is Mario Brothers, and it's definitely not Super. Have you played Ice Climber and thought to yourself that the jump controls were just a little too intuitive and fun? Well, do I have the game for you. Released in the arcades back in 1983, this is a spin-off of the classic arcade hit Donkey Kong. This game is mostly famous for being the first introduction of Luigi. But apparently it doesn't even do that well because Luigi's first appearance was actually in a Game & Watch game of the same name, not this one. This is why your teachers wouldn't let you use Wikipedia as a source. And of course, the version we're looking at is the 1986 NES version. Upon booting up the game, you can choose either 1 or 2 players and A or B mode, A being easy and B being hard, just like all these other arcade ports. Once you enter a game, you'll notice if you go all the way to the right, you'll reappear on the left. He would have loved this game. Soon you'll see a Koopa exit the pipe at the top and you'll leap into action. You'll go to jump on its back and immediately die. See, this is why you should have studied harder in biology. You would know that this isn't a Koopa Troopa, rather it's a shell creeper, which as everyone knows means you can't jump on its back. In future versions of this game, these would be replaced by Spinies because of the general population's ignorance of basic zoology. The way you defeat enemies in this game is by punching underneath the floor that they're on. This is fun to do, and it's still a mechanic that exists today in Mario games. Turtles go down in 1 hit, and while 1 hit will make the crabs move faster, they require a second hit to knock them down completely. And lastly, a fighter fly will also go down in 1 hit, but its jumping pattern makes this easier said than done. After knocking an enemy down, you have to run into them to kick them away and clear them out completely. If you don't do this in time, they'll get back up and be faster. After you defeat them, a coin will appear from the top pipes that you can try to grab. There's a POW block which will knock down enemies, but turn enemies that are already knocked down right side up. And you can only hit the POW block a certain number of times before it disappears completely. Fireballs will fly in from the sides if you're taking too long, and freezes will freeze parts of the floor if not destroyed, making the movement feel even worse somehow. After clearing out all but 1 enemy, the final enemy will become faster. The influences of Mario are felt in the most unlikely of places. After clearing all enemies, you move to the next stage, and after completing a handful of stages, you'll occasionally do a bonus round where you collect coins. You'll do all of this to try to get as high of a score as possible, and that, my friends, is Mario Bros. In a nutshell. I have no idea why anyone would play this single player in today's day and age. In multiplayer it's better, but the controls are still terrible. You can work together to get a high score, or you can work against each other to ruin player 2's day. As you can see, the manual for this game was written by quite the prankster. But all in all, this game is not worth anyone's time because the controls are just not great. However, the other mechanics and overall design of this game are still quite fun. Like Ice Climber, it's only held back by the controls. But unlike Ice Climber, this game has had several revisions to fix this issue. One of these is in the minigame in Super Mario Bros. 3, also on the NES Classic. If you select the space that both you and player 2 are on, you can compete to see who can get more kills in the arcade game. It's not very in-depth, but it's still interesting. This would be even more fleshed out in the Mario Advance series and on Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga for the GBA. The controls are greatly improved here and it actually makes the game a joy to play. It's especially great on the Game Boy, which is designed for quick gaming on the go. But as for the NES version that we're looking at here, most people are going to pick it up, play it for 10 seconds, jump once, and say no thank you. It's a shame though, because all the other design choices would make it a really fun game. It's probably the worst game on the NES Classic. I understand why it's here. It has a very important legacy. It's the friend that you have to invite to your wedding even though you haven't hung out since Big Time Rush was on the air. However, I think we can all use this game to appreciate how Super Mario Bros. Just radically reinvented movement. It made video games a lot more fun in the process. And at that, thank you for watching Hydrated Gaming, and I'll see you next time.